Welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Maureen Martin, and I'm a Programs Manager for CAN-DO Multiple Sclerosis. Thank you for acting on the belief that you are more than your MS by attending tonight's webinar, Cooling Techniques and Devices with Elizabeth Bullard and Peter Damiri. I want to start tonight's presentation by talking a little bit about CAN-DO Multiple Sclerosis. CAN-DO MS is an innovative provider of lifestyle empowerment programs for people with MS and their support partners. We are the start of a whole new way of thinking about and living with MS. CAN-DO MS empowers people to move beyond their MS by giving them the knowledge, skills, tools, and confidence to adopt healthy lifestyle behaviors, actively co-manage their disease, and live their best lives. CAN-DO MS launched our new website last summer, mscando.org. And please visit the website where you can register for upcoming webinars, listen to our archived webinars, check out our upcoming CAN-DO MS lifestyle empowerment programs, share your CAN-DO promise, and learn ways you can contribute to or get involved with CAN-DO MS. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Beth and Peter will address questions and comments at the end of the presentation, and we encourage questions throughout the presentation. To ask a question, you type your question in the chat feature, which is located on the left side of your computer screen. So you should see a box on the left side of your computer screen that says Chat. And to submit a question, you type in the small box that says Chat with Presenters. This presentation is being recorded and will be archived on CAN-DO MS's website. You are more than welcome to view the presentation again. And if you missed one of our other webinars, you can find the archived version on the website. For those who are attending live tonight, you will receive an email tomorrow with copies of this PowerPoint presentation. As many of you discovered when you logged into the webinar, you can now listen to the live webinar through your computer speakers rather than having to call in. So the job of the live participants tonight is to, number one, submit your questions and comments into the chat box. Number two, complete the evaluation at the end of the webinar. 3, review the webinar schedule and register for upcoming webinars. So we have 2 great speakers lined up for tonight's webinar. I'll start by introducing Elizabeth Bullard. She has practiced occupational therapy for over 20 years, and her area of expertise is adult neurological rehabilitation with a specialty in multiple sclerosis. She's been a member of the CAN-DO MS program staff for over 10 years and is employed at the Northern Colorado Rehabilitation Hospital as the Patient Assessment Coordinator and Director of Case Management.
Hi, everybody.
And our next speaker tonight is Peter Damiri, and he is the Senior Director of Programs for Multiple Sclerosis Association of America in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to be here.
So before we start tonight's presentation, let's just do a quick survey to get a feel for who's on the webinar with us tonight. So I just put a survey up on the screen. So just please tell us about yourself. Are you a person living with MS? Are you a support partner? Are you a healthcare professional or other? So we'll give everyone a few seconds to go ahead and get their survey results posted. All right. Looks like about 95.5% is a person living with MS. 4.5% is a support partner, and 6% is a healthcare professional. So it's a great group tonight. And with that, I will turn it over to Beth.
Hi, everybody. I'm really, really glad to be here. When they approached me to talk about cooling techniques and devices, it was exciting. I had done some work with them, but didn't know as much as I wanted to, and I have spent the last few months doing some research and learning a lot, and I'm excited to share that information with you tonight. I feel that what an appropriate time to talk about this topic. We're about 7 days away from the start of summer, and many of us have experienced already triple-digit temperatures throughout the country. I have had some opportunities the last months to travel to different places, and I spent a weekend in Arizona in mid-May, and there I had 100-degree temperatures, but really dry and sunny, and then turned around 2 weeks later and ended up in North Carolina and Virginia with the same temperature, but what a different effect with all the humidity. So it's given me some great perspective to speak to as we go through tonight. I wanted to go through the objectives of things we're going to cover. We're going to review the basic principles around nerve conduction. We're going to discuss how and why temperature changes have an effect on function. You're going to understand how to determine your core body temperature, be able to identify maybe internal and external factors that contribute to core temperature changes. We're going to learn some strategies for easing the effect of heat and temperature sensitivity. And you're going to hear about MSAA's cooling products and cooling program. So, what's this such a hot topic about? Why is everything so big about temperature sensitivity in MS? Well, 60 to 80% of individuals living with MS experience some degree of heat tolerance. That's a large group. Now, while that is so many, the effects are different for each individual. And heat is not only a contributing factor and a worsening factor. Some people can have issues with cold. Some people heat doesn't affect heat at all, and cold can be the factor that worsens their symptoms. A lot of times with the cold, I'll hear that there's stiffness and spasticity. Now there's the select few that are incredibly unfortunate that they experience an impact with either heat or cold. And sometimes it may not be that it's the hot and the cold, but it's the extreme change in the temperature that affects them the greatest amount. Now, is this a new thing? Well, actually, it kind of isn't. In 1890, there was a German ophthalmologist. His name was Uhthoff, and he was studying neurological patients that had optic neuritis. And what he noticed was that the patients experienced a worsening of their symptoms after exercise. So for all of you now that go, oh my God, Beth just told me don't exercise because it might worsen my symptoms. That's not it at all. You're not going to get out of your exercise. While exercise and activity can raise your core body temperature, studies have demonstrated that exercise is a helpful tool in managing MS symptoms. It reduces the risk of comorbidities and promotes overall health and wellness. So exercise is a good thing. You just have to look at how you're doing it. Further studies proved that Uhthoff was a little off. While he thought that it was just exercise that caused that worsening, it wasn't. It was actually that rise in core body temperature rather than the act. Now that concept led to what some of you may know about is the hot bath test that they used back in the 1950s. And that was actually a diagnostic test that they used to diagnose people with MS. What a horrifying thought to think that you're going to be exposed to that hot temperature to see whether your body melts or not. Luckily, they did use that for several decades, but we have improved our medical technology and moved forward and have other diagnostic ways for MS. What I want to do now is let's go back and talk about our nervous system. I want you to think about your bodies as an electrical system, and that's what those nerves are. Those nerves send signals and information to and from. It tells our body what to do. And this is our picture of a basic nerve in our nervous system. And so here we're getting information, and we're wanting to send it up here. So we want this axon. This is like our electrical cable. This sends the information. We want it to be efficient and effective. Well, how do we do that? Well, we protect it. So we wrap it, we insulate it, just like an electrician would insulate an electrical wire. And that insulation is called that myelin sheath. Now we know that in multiple sclerosis, that sheath becomes scarred, and it can have areas where it's bare. And what happens is when that occurs, that signal can't travel up as quickly and efficiently as it used to. So what happens? Signals drop out. Things misconnect. They misfire. They slow. They just don't get there. Now, we have this demyelinated nerve that we've talked about. And what happens when we input the heat? Here's our good nerve, right? We have it. It's nicely wrapped. It's got its myelin sheath. It's happy. It's firing. You see that red? That indicates a signal that's moving and shaking, and our body is moving. Well, we come down here to that damaged nerve. And here it is. The signal's coming along, but it runs into this scarred and this myelined area. That slows that signal. It can't get through. It misfires. It goes on. So we have that demyelinated nerve. Now let's add the property of heat. Heat affects the demyelinated nerve in this way. Just as little as 1/4 to 1/2 a degree can slow that nerve conduction even greater. So you've got that demyelinated nerve. It's not firing as efficient and effectively, or it's misfiring. You add the element of heat, which further slows that conduction, causing a worsening of symptoms. The thing to understand is that heat's impact, the worsening of symptoms, is a temporary state, when the symptoms will return to their normal level as you cool the body. So I want you to clearly hear, heat does not cause an exacerbation of the disease process. It's purely a temporary state with the impact. So what are some of the most commonly affected areas or things that we hear about from individuals? They describe blurred vision. They describe weakness, whether it's in one extremity or a general overall weakness. There's balance and coordination. Sometimes individuals will describe sensory disturbances, numbness in your extremities, tremors, fatigue, and an overall decrease in cognitive function. You just might not feel as sharp. You might not remember things as well, or you might not be able to initiate a task or pay attention as well as you'd like to. Heat's impact is individualized. One of the things that I've learned in the time that I've worked with individuals with MS is that everybody's experience, as well there's some commonalities, is unique and different. And the impact of heat and heat tolerance is exactly that same factor. Each one of us has our own threshold to heat and humidity. Some of us can enjoy being in Florida and being outside in the garden with the 90-degree temperatures and all the sticky humidity, and others of us would rush away from that and opt to live in Seattle where it's rainier and cooler, or maybe a dry, high desert. Everybody has their own threshold. The types of symptoms that people experience are different. Some people have some minor motor symptoms. Other ones have more cognitively based symptoms and fatigue symptoms. It's just going to hit you a different way. Severity of the symptoms too. Whereas you both may have motor symptoms, one person may notice that, yes, my left foot drags when I stay out in the heat more than 20 minutes, where another one says, I can't get out of a chair, and I'm a limp noodle. The other thing that's individualized is the resolution time, how long it takes for you to recover. Some people can pull out of the direct sun, sit for 10 minutes, have a cool drink of water, and be ready to go again. Other times some people describe that it takes 2, 3, 4 hours for them to be able to recover. So those are all the things that you need to understand are individualized in heat intolerance, and find out what is yours. Key is understanding your electrical system. What triggers yours? How does it work? And once you understand that, then we can try to apply the principles that are going to work best for you. So what turns on the heat? Let's start talking about heat. I like to look at these as internal and external type factors. If someone's sick, you have a fever, you have an illness, that can heat up your core body temperature. Other issues that may go on with your body that cause hormonal changes or hot flashes. I always laugh. I have many girlfriends that are in an age where they experience those hot flashes. So I went over to one girl's house, and she says, oh, well, this is what you have to do. She goes to Bath & Body Works, and she buys all of these body spritzers, and they all keep them in their fridge. So whenever anybody's feeling bad, or they need to cool off, or they're getting that hot flash, they all run to the fridge, and we're all body spritzing people with this cooled down water. So that is actually something that is quite helpful. If you eat hot food, hot in temperature or spicy in temperature can change how your body feels. Drinking a hot beverage, overdressing. You know, maybe if you're going to go to a baseball game or a picnic and it's going to be 80 degrees outside, probably don't want to wear a dark black long sleeve t-shirt and a pair of jeans. As we described earlier, exercise and activity does raise core body temperature, but it can definitely be regulated, and you can do that effectively. So again, exercise is a good thing. Humidity. I experienced a whole lot of humidity in North Carolina and Virginia, and let me tell you, it was hard for me to deal with. I live in Colorado, and I'm not used to that, and it definitely has its factor. And one of the reasons you say, well, why? Why is humidity, why does it impact people so much? Humidity reduces the ability for your body to be able to dissipate the heat through evaporation and sweat. That's how our body regulates our temperatures. We sweat. And so when you have humidity, your body can't perform that as efficiently and effectively, and that's why it's such a factor for a lot of people. A lot of people, the temperature isn't exactly the issue. It's the direct sunlight. They can feel really zapped from the intense direct sunlight. High temperatures also is one. And then warm rooms, warm kitchens. There's a lot of products that we have in our homes that put off heat. Even electronics, computers, all of that stuff, televisions, and it can cause the room to be at a higher temperature, and that can sometimes affect people. Fireplaces, obviously pools hotter than 85 degrees, and of course a sauna and a hot tub, whether it's a dry heat or a moist heat, it's still heat. People have a lot of good luck working out in pools under that 85 degrees, but usually that's the tipping point where it can sometimes be difficult. So let's talk about what's your normal. What's baseline for you? The average for any body is 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So what's your normal? They say that most of us hit 2 degrees either side of normal. And the way to find your baseline temperature is taking an average. You're going to want to use probably a minimum of about 7 days. You might want to go longer than that. You're going to always want to use the same method to measure your temperature. You're going to want to do it at the same time of day. I recommend sort of doing it in the same situation. If you wake up every morning, you sit on the edge of the bed, in the same room, same situation, take that temperature. Keep a log of that temperature, and then you can average over that period of time that you did. Now when you say, okay, I've got my core temperature, I know where I'm starting from, what's the safety? What do I want to do to reduce? What's the right way? And a maximum reduction of temperature of 2 degrees Fahrenheit is considered safe. We really don't want to do anything more than that. And we've seen that a 1 degree reduction in temperature is sufficient for you to be able to feel the benefits of cooling. And now, what are those benefits of cooling? Well, medical studies have determined that when that demyelinated nerve is cooled, so we've got that nerve, right? We look at that MS nerve, has the little scarring spots. The nerve fibers are trying to run through it. You can picture that picture in your mind. When we cool that nerve down, it actually slows the speed of that electrical impulse, which in turn lengthens the duration of the impulse. And what they feel is with that greater signal lengthening, it gives it an opportunity to actually jump or transmit over those scarred areas. And so it can restore conduction, improve function. The signals can talk to each other. So the legs and the arms and the brain cells can move and do the things they need to do because that signal is moving quicker. So simply said, cooling allows for greater signal transmission over a damaged nerve. So how does that cooling affect function? What do we see? There's been many research studies done, and they have demonstrated that individuals who participate in cooling therapy have seen benefits up to 2 hours after sessions and ongoing with regular therapy. The participants in these studies have discussed the fact that they experienced less fatigue. They were able to stay outdoors for long periods of time or stay engaged in the activity in which they were trying to do. And they saw a lessened effect on the increased body temperature that happens with activities or in daily exercise. Let's now talk about strategies for keeping it cool. How do we start? Well, any good OT is going to always start you off with you need to plan and prepare. You need to know the situation you're going into. You need to know yourself, and you need to have the tools you need to be successful. So being aware of the current weather forecasts of where you're traveling to or what's going to happen in the day, what's just going on and what might impact you by just what the weather guy says. Now, on top of that, what's the environment in which you're going to have to be functioning in? Are you going in and out of doors a lot? Do the venues have air conditioning? Is the area covered for parking? How accessible is it? How much walking I'm going to have to do outside? Are there times in the day that I have less energy or the sun is more intense so that I need to stay out of the heat of the day? How am I going to do all that? So it's planning to be successful. The next is preparing. Once you know what you're about to face, once you think you've got most of your factors down, what do I do to be prepared? As we talked about in the benefits of cooling on function, cool your core before you go. Maybe if you have a cooling vest or a cooling product, you put that on for 20 minutes or whatever prescribed hour that it is before you go. Or you take a quick shower, or you have a misting fan or something with you that you get your body cooled down before you take off. And then also, if you have several things going on during the day, maybe you schedule rest breaks and cool down breaks. If, say, you're going to run errands and you're going over here to shop and you have to go to this doctor's appointment, but you schedule a little break inside and pop into a local ice cream shop or somewhere that's air conditioned and you know it's going to be cool, and sit down there and enjoy yourself for a little bit. That's your cool down rest break. Also, having the tools you need to be successful. If you're going to go out, do you have your bag of tricks? Do you have your hat? Do you have a frozen cooled drink? Do you keep a cooler in the back of your car? Maybe an umbrella would be good, especially I always tell them not a black umbrella. Black draws in the heat. You want a light colored umbrella. You have all those tools handy so if you need them. And a lot of people say, well, Beth, that's all great and I bought all that stuff, but I don't have it where I need it and when I need it. So I always say keep most of it already packed in your car. If you're going to use it when you're out, then just keep it there. And if you feel that you need 2 of them, then get 2 of them. Have your inside bag, have your outside bag. Keep everything right where you can grab it. And there's a greater chance you'll have it when you need it. Another key factor for being cool and staying healthy is hydration. Hydration is incredibly important. And this goes back to that whole sweat and evaporation concept I was talking about, is our body releases heat through sweat and evaporation. We have to have adequate fluid intake to allow our body to perspire and cool itself, yet remain hydrated and keep our tissues healthy. Ways that you do that is you need to watch your caffeinated drinks. Caffeine actually dehydrates us. So if you're going to have your cup of coffee, then you might want to add an extra glass of water later in the day. So I always say one caffeinated drink, add in 2 regular drinks to sort of make up for it. Keeping plenty of chilled drinks on hand. Know what you like to drink, because if you don't like water, you're not going to drink water. But if maybe you like water with a Crystal Light product, or you like the carbonated flavored waters, or a sports drink, if it's what you drink and it's what you like, keep it with you. And just buy that. Use a water bottle, a sports bottle, whatever you like to drink out of. Keep those things handy as well. Freezing drinks, so you can take with you. A lot of people I talked with keep a lot of bottles of things frozen, and they'll pull them out and set them in their car, or they'll even set them at their bedside at night. So as time passes, they're able to take a sip on it and the drink remains cool for a longer period of time. Beating the heat. Cool foods. And you go, cool foods. Okay, what's that mean? Frozen fruits. I've had a lot of thoughts about frozen fruits, and I've tried a lot of things lately. It's a great time to use them for more than just eating. I like to freeze fruits. And the best way to do that is to get your berries, your strawberries, your blackberries, your raspberries, and you can't freeze them all together because they'll all mush up and become yuck. But you lay them out on a nice cookie sheet and you stick them in the freezer and you let them get hard enough so that they're not mushy anymore. Then you can bag them up into little single-serving containers, and you can use them as ice cubes. You can throw them on salads. You can put them into smoothies. There's just so much you can do with frozen fruits. You can even just suck on them like you would do a piece of candy. Those are nice, cool ways to use fruit. Again, I talked about freezing the juice and sports drinks. There are a lot of great smoothie products on the market and a lot of good popsicles that are not sugar-based, and they have good fruit products and they're lower in calories. Those are great to have handy. Summertime is obviously a salad and soup time, and soups there's a lot of cold soups that are good. Cucumber soups, gazpacho, a lot of salsas and other things. So get creative and see what you might be able to make that doesn't really heat up when you're eating or heat up the house. Sandwiches are always best. And I put cool meals. And what I wanted to talk about with cool meals, and you go, well, what is a cool meal? A cool meal is something that you don't have to heat up the kitchen for, and you can eat it fresh and lovely at any time. And this is kind of what my family does for cool meals. I work full time, and I don't really enjoy doing a lot of cooking when I come home at night. So I take advantage of the weekends, and I also take advantage of our grill, so I don't heat up the kitchen. So I marinate all of my meats, and on Sundays I'll cook a lot of things on the grill at once. I'll cook vegetables, I'll cook all my meats, and then I'm kind of done for the week. And I pull it all off, and I section it up into little eating packets for the family, and we tuck it away so that when night comes during the week, we're not having to heat up the house with an oven. I'm not standing next to a hot grill. I can just quickly microwave some of the food, or I can throw it into a salad and eat it cold. Other ideas are crock pots don't heat up kitchens as much. Toaster ovens are much smaller and take less energy to heat up, and they cool down faster than a regular oven. So think about all of the products that you have out there that you can use so that your house stays cool and you can have cool meals. Now let's talk about cool clothes. Obviously, black absorbs the heat. It brings it in. The light colored clothing will repel that. So you're going to stick with the cotton clothing, the whites, the pastels. Look at the breathable materials. There's a lot of great products on the market that have the wick-away moisture components and are able to dry quickly. The sportswear products that are out, those are good materials to go with. Layering, adjusting to temperatures. Even though it's summer and things are hot, you're going to be a lot of places where it's not hot. You're going to be in an air-conditioned maybe movie theater. You're going to be going into a grocery store that has cold aisles. You're going to be going to a doctor's office. Or you can be anywhere. And so sometimes you can be in and out of temperatures and experience extreme temperature changes just doing that. So be prepared. Have a sweater in the car or have this and that so that you can layer when you need to and take it off when you don't. I was in Arizona, like I mentioned earlier, and some people shared a great story about how they like to just moisten their clothes, their T-shirts, their shorts, their scarves. We just wet them and stick them in the fridge. And then they chill them up for a bit, and they take them out and put them on, and then that's what they wear when they go out to do any gardening or be outside, is you've got this sort of chilly, cool piece of clothing. And it doesn't cost anything. We all own the clothes anyway, and the water's there. So that was kind of a neat concept to try. Having it made in the shade. Living in Colorado, I know a lot about direct sunlight, and it can be very intense. So you want to look at how much that affects you. Again, sometimes it's not actually the heat of the temperature, but the intensity of the sun that can be so intolerant for people. So making sure that you're covered up, wearing a hat, but not picking a hat that's going to be a hot hat. You need to have one that is vented, one that's light, one that the air can keep moving in. The same thing with the umbrellas. You know, they're not just for rainy days. You can use them when you're out in the sun. A lot of them have venting properties, so again, the air can move. You want to make sure air is moving and the evaporation and all that can happen. Looking at putting umbrellas over covered spaces, or maybe you build a pergola. A lot of times people have that sail fabric that they use now that they put up to cover outdoor spaces. And I wrote this east versus west and north versus south. Which way do you face? And that got me thinking because, again, with the sun in Colorado, my house faces east-west. So I go, well, where do I want to spend my time? The sun comes up in the east, and so it's always intense on the back of my house. So if we want to be outside in the mornings, we go on the west side porch and we sit out there and we can enjoy our coffee and our paper and have the niceness of the day but the cool of the morning. And then vice versa, at night, the western sun can be incredibly intense. So we opt to stay out of the west side of the house and we move to the east side of the house so we can enjoy the inside and the outside and not have as much intensity from the heat that's either coming to us from being outside or coming through the windows on that side of the house. Considering tinting windows isn't just for cars. I know that there's only so much you can tint a car window and be legit with the DMV, but it is a good thing to be able to do. And a lot of people are doing that with their windows at home. And especially since a lot of us have windows that are transoms or windows that are over windows, and there's all these high vaulted ceilings with all this extra light coming in. And so tinting those windows can actually help cool the house and help with utility bills and make it just a little less intense if you've got an area that's getting a lot of sun. Keeping the blinds drawn does allow to keep the cool inside and the hot outside. When you're in your car, can you park in the shade? Is there covered parking? Can someone drop you off and you not be the driver? Do you have a handicap parking tag so you're not spending as much time walking and being outside? The other fun thing that my children had a blast with was trying a lot of misting products. There are a bunch of different on the market. There's personal misting products, and then there's some that are even for your home. We tried fans that were as simple as a battery-powered fan with a squirt bottle in it. We had some that were pressure pump little devices that then you pressed a button and it put a cool mist onto your body. They have misting tubes. In any of the home product stores, you can get all of the lines with the mistings and hook them up to a hose, and you can set them around your deck. You could take some PVC pipe and make even an arch that would just set off this little mist and be able to go through that at any time to sort of cool your body down. Now, we've talked about a lot of lifestyle changes and other things you can do and foods and clothes. I'm going to have Peter talk about cooling products and technology.
Thank you, Beth. Great presentation so far. As Beth mentioned, there are a lot of lifestyle changes you can make to keep yourself cool, and then there certainly are a number of products that you can wear to keep yourself cool. And I just want to take a little bit of time to go over how the history of some of these cooling products came to be, what are some of the types of different products that you can wear, and then a little bit about MSAA's cooling program and what we offer to people. Actually, space technology refined cooling. It began with NASA in the developing spacesuits to protect the astronauts from the hazards of space when they would go out of the capsule for their spacewalks. But wearing a large spacesuit does trap the heat inside, and to avoid the astronauts from overheating, they had to create some type of garment that astronauts would wear to then chill down their body. And this, you can see by the picture, looks like a pair of long underwear that's been adapted. And it's hard to see details in the photo, but it has a series of tubes that are sewn into the garment. And those tubes circulate cool liquid that has been pumped through. And it has a natural radiator effect like you would have in your car to keep your body cool. And they, of course, were known as liquid cooling garments. They then became known commonly as cool suits. So NASA created this technology, and part of NASA's mission is to take the technology that it develops and see if it can apply to other applications, whether it's the military or industry or even in biomedical research. And as Beth had mentioned about the hot baths for MS, it was generally known that heat for MS is not good, and generally cooling for MS is good. So in addition to MS, some cancer research and a condition called HED for children who did not have sufficient sweat glands came about and started using this NASA technology to really help those who had a need to cool. MSAA got involved in the early to mid-1990s working with NASA to help research information about cooling and MS, and in 1994 we signed a historic Memorandum of Understanding, which was an official collaboration between us and NASA to work with their researchers, work with scientists in the field, work with different MS clinics across the country, and sponsor workshops and evaluations and research studies to look at cooling and MS. And these research projects really helped gain acceptance of cooling to the MS community. And neurologists, kind of knew of cooling and its effects, but certainly our involvement with NASA and the other MS clinics really helped promote that cooling technology can help people with MS. For that, the next use, and in and around this time, the industry began developing products to market to the consumers for cooling. And again, it was based on this NASA technology, so the common phrase was spin-off technology from NASA. And if you recall the picture of the gentleman wearing the long underwear cooling suit, they opted to create more of a short vest for people to wear, and this became an active cool suit. And it's known as an active system because it does pump cool liquid through the tubes, and you can probably see them a little closer here inside the vest with a pump, and it has a motor, so it is an active system to help cool. And you can see here that the cooler circulates the liquid. It did have, it had initially just a unit you had to plug into the wall. Later units now have a battery pack, so that is helpful. And I'll talk about the different types of cooling and some of the pros and cons with that. For active cooling, the results are effective. It does provide a very direct, almost therapy-like cooling to the body, and people generally use this as a need for those who are very severely affected by MS. Most probably are familiar with cooling and the cooling products that you wear because you can go out and about and you can wear them gardening or go to a ball game. But these type of products, again, most of them you do have to be connected to and plugged in for, so that does have a disadvantage, and they are very expensive. When we first got involved in cooling and started funding some of these research studies, and then later on purchasing products and providing to MS clients, we were spending upwards around $2,000 to $3,000 per unit. Fortunately, the price and the technology has improved over the years, and the price has come down, but they are still expensive, and they do run anywhere from $500 to $700. So we provide maybe a few of these, but certainly the largest of our products that we provide our clients is passive cooling. And passive cooling means that it doesn't involve any moving parts, such as the pump that circulated that cool liquid. The most common types of passive cooling involves evaporative, phase change, and gel ice. Evaporative products, kind of how Beth mentioned earlier, people would wet their clothing and wear that, and then that would give them a cooling effect. Really is that same principle where your water does cause a natural cooling effect as it evaporates. The products that involve evaporative cooling can range from vests and scarves and wristbands, and what they do is they contain crystal beads, which are very similar to what you would find in disposable diapers. And when you soak them in water, they absorb the water, the crystals absorb the water and expand, and then you take them, you towel dry them, and you put them on, and as you wear them, then the water evaporates, and as it does, it draws away the heat from your body, providing a natural cooling effect. As you can see here, these are some of the common products. You have a vest, you have a neck wrap, you have a variety of different hats that people wear. With these, there are advantages and disadvantages. You have lightweight products to wear. They are easily reused, and they are very cost-effective. Hats and scarves can be anywhere from $10 to $15, and these type of vests can be anywhere from $40 to $50. The disadvantage is that generally evaporative cooling provides the lowest amount of cooling relief and effect. It just general rule of thumb is that if you have something that's cold or very cold, it's going to produce a stronger cooling effect. So anything that involves ice at 32 degrees will provide much more cooling effect and cooling relief than products that are soaked in cool water, which is around 55, 60 degrees, and then when you towel dry them, that naturally will raise the temperature of the product a little bit, and then when you wear them on your body, which is 98 degrees, then that certainly is going to raise the temperature a little bit. So you're comparing ice, which freezes at 32 degrees, versus this type of damp, wet clothing, which is probably anywhere from 70 to 75 degrees, which certainly is cooler than your body at 98 and certainly is cooler than the air around you on a hot summer day at 85 or 90, but again, it's not as strong as what ice would be. The other issue, and I think Beth mentioned she was out in Arizona, and that's where these people were wetting their clothing, that really is the key. If it's a dry climate that evaporation can take place in, then these products do work. But if it's a very damp and humid climate, as she mentioned, Virginia, North Carolina, certainly Florida, I'm in New Jersey, certainly here in New Jersey it's very humid, they really don't work as well. And again, you do have to wear these products over your clothing, so that's somewhat of a disadvantage. The other type of cooling is called phase change, and this is gel packs that are combined with water and an alkaline material known as paraffin, and this allows the freezing point of the gel pack to freeze at around 57 degrees. So it won't freeze at 32, but it'll freeze at 57. With that, they have a variety of products that you've seen, the vests, scarves, the wristbands. Part of the reason that you would use a phase change is that it's somewhat more convenient. So again, if you have access to a freezer, you can freeze the gel packs at 32 degrees and use them in your vest. If you don't, and these are generally sold for industrial or construction or military use, if you're out on a job site and you have a Playmate cooler and you have it with some ice and some of those blue freeze packs, you can put these products in there. It clearly won't be as low as 32 degrees because you won't have access to an electric freezer, but it will get down to the mid-50s, and the products will freeze, and then you can wear them. But again, the disadvantage is that you're not at 32 degrees, so you're already starting with something that's at 57 degrees or higher, and then clearly it's not going to cool you as long, and it won't have as much energy. Given the design and the use of these products, they are a little bit more costly as well. The third and generally the most common type of cooling and products that involve cooling are the gel ice, and these are the freeze packs, the gel ice packs that freeze at 32 degrees. Again, that generally gives you the biggest bang for your buck. That's generally what you want to insert into these vests and scarves and wristbands. They generally have a variety of different products to do that. The advantages is, again, the most amount of cooling energy extends the use of cooling, and unfortunately the disadvantage is that these products are a bit larger. They are somewhat maybe a little bit bulkier. Their design maybe isn't as aesthetic as maybe it should be. I know a lot of our clients kind of refer to them as the fishing jacket, fishing vest jacket. And you do need a freezer to freeze the ice packs. So what are some of the new trends in cooling? Well, we have heard from our clients over the years that they'd rather see if they could wear some of their cooling products under their clothing rather than the vests that are worn over top of their clothing. Now, there's always going to be a trade-off in doing that. So if you have a product that's smaller, it certainly is lightweight, and you can wear it underneath clothing. It can be hidden for discreet use, or you can wear it, be more active while wearing it, or as Beth mentioned, you can exercise so that you can exercise pre and post exercise and cool that way, or you can wear it during exercise, depending. They have new products such as wrist and ankle wraps that look like wrist and ankle weights, so you can put them in there. But again, if you have a smaller product and you have smaller ice, you're going to have less cooling and less energy. So it may not last probably more than 30 to 40 minutes, whereas the larger packs for the larger vests could last up to 2 hours, depending. But again, if you're looking to only be out for a half hour or so, or exercise, or take that walk around your neighborhood, then you have some advantages in that regard. These are some of the new products that we have been mentioning. You can see the ankle wraps, the wrist wraps, the neck wraps. Two products that are under the clothing on the far right is a torso vest. You can see it wear it underneath the woman's shirt, and then underneath in the center is a torso vest, or a regular full-size vest that you can wear under your clothing as well. So we've recognized that our clients both like the full-length vests that have the pockets on the outside, and you wear it over your clothing, and has the ability to cool for the maximum amount of 2, maybe 3 hours, depending. And we recognize that a lot of our clients are looking for something smaller, more petite, more discreet, hidden under clothing, wearing it while being more active and exercising. So we have just added for our cooling program a combination of these two different styles. So we keep our current vest that we have, and then we have combined the products that people wear under the clothing into a kit, so that they can wear a vest that can be worn under clothing, as well as a variety of accessories that you can wear around your neck, wrist, and your ankles. And all of this information can be found on our website, which is www.msassociation.org. You can find our application there. You can find information as I've kind of reviewed in this presentation. And you can certainly call us at 1-800-532-7667 and talk to one of our client consultants who can easily explain the program, the process, and what you need to get our cooling. So at this point, I'll turn it back to the presenter.
Okay. So we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about products and lifestyles, and why heat affects us, and what does the cooling do. Now it's time to think for yourself and say, okay, how am I going to develop my personal cooling program, and what are the steps that I'm going to take? The best first one, and always, is doing some research and planning. Here I'm back to the OT, telling you got a plan. But take a few of the tidbits that you learned. Where do you want to start? What are the things you want to try? How can you look at trialing some variety of products and making a few, 1 to 2 of the lifestyle changes? See if those work for you. If they don't, then move on. If they do, accept and go on as well. Look at the fit and feasibility of the product. You know, we talked about things were heavy, things cost a lot of money, sometimes they required refrigeration. Know your functional abilities, how well your hands and your legs work. Can I get this product on and off by myself? How much help am I going to need? All of those different things you'll need to consider as you're going to make your cooling program and find what's going to be successful for you. And obviously, if it's frustrating and it's not working, then make the changes and try something different. As you're going through this, well, where can I get help? Who can help me with all of this? Your local healthcare team. There's groups of therapists, OTs and PTs, and nurse practitioners and doctors. All of those individuals can help you problem solve through these things. Your local and national MS chapters and associations, any vendors, or if there's any local resource programs in your area or government programs that help to provide funding. I also included a slide of the resources and references and links to not only the MSAA, but a couple of other foundations that had a lot of good information about cooling products, cooling therapies, chat rooms, pictures of different vests, and a lot of different feedback and evaluation. So you guys can use those tools as you search for what's going to be your cooling program. Lastly, I'd like to leave with you some things that I read and meant a lot to me, is that living with MS is about finding solutions. Use your creativity to remove obstacles. Let go of those things that no longer serve you. Accept those that will make life easier. Remember, you are always in control. Work to stay there. And the quality of your life depends on it.
All right. Thanks so much, Beth and Peter. That was a fabulous presentation. So much good information. We have a lot of questions, so we'll just try to get through as many as we can. I guess the first one will be probably for Peter, just if you can talk about where people can get these devices. Is it best to go to your website?
Yeah, we have an application that people need to complete. They can find it on our website, which is www.msassociation.org. And you can see the tab will say Programs and Services, and you click on that and scroll down to Cooling. The landing page will explain, much as I did earlier, the cooling program, the pros and the cons, the different products, and then you can download the application. You cannot order online. You need to print it out, fill it out, and include a doctor's note or prescription that verifies that you have MS. It doesn't have to specifically indicate usage for cooling, but it does have to verify that the person does have MS. And that needs to be mailed or faxed to us. And then our address and fax number is on our information on our website as well. And we receive the application. Obviously, at this time of year, we're quite inundated with cooling, especially over the last 2 weeks with the national heat wave. So please, we do ask for people to be patient with us. We need to input all of that data into our database. We work with 2 great vendors, one in Ohio, one in Washington State, and they both have a variety of different products that people can select off of the application. And we'll enter that information into our system. We'll place the order, and then the actual products will be drop shipped from either one of those vendors right to the person's doorstep. So the whole process, once we get the application this time of year, it was probably a week and a half to 2 weeks. We can try and speed that up, especially if people complete the application correctly and have the doctor's note. But if things are missing, then we'll have to call and then wait for additional materials. So hopefully the sooner people get it in, the quicker we can turn it around. And we do ask for people to be patient because we're doing our best to keep up with the demand.
Great. And what if someone can't download the application?
They could certainly give us a call, and we can mail it right out to them.
Great. Thank you. So the next question just kind of goes back a little bit into Beth's presentation. This question just asks for more information about about caffeine's effect on body heat.
Caffeine?
Yes.
Caffeine, when I'm talking about caffeine, remember we talked about that one of the key ways for your body to be able to let go of heat is to be able to sweat and let that out. And so if you're drinking a lot of caffeine and you're not taking in other fluids, that caffeine actually dehydrates your body so that your body doesn't have the moisture that it needs to be able to sweat adequately. And so it doesn't allow you to release that energy and cool itself. The system doesn't work as well. So that's hopefully that clarifies it for people.
Great. And just kind of a follow-up, there were a couple of questions about this, kind of the conflict of wanting to drink a lot of water to stay hydrated, but that adding on to bladder issues and how to find that balance, if you can just touch on that.
Yeah, that's one that I've struggled and talked with people years and years, and they say, well, I don't want to have to go to the bathroom, or I don't want to have to get out of my chair because X, Y, and Z, this is so hard, so my choice is I'm just not going to drink anything. And then we as healthcare professionals go, oh no, please don't do that. Because not only does your body need, it needs to be hydrated to work effectively for heat, but your systems and your urinary system and everything else needs to function as well. And that's how we clean impurities out of our body is through drinking and going to the bathroom and all of that. So I would challenge you all to think about what part isn't working. Is it that I can't transfer as well? Is it that I have urinary frequency? Is it that I have this? And what are the healthcare professionals, or who can I talk to help get that system working better so that I can continue to do the things I need to do? Maybe it's time to look at a catheter type product, or maybe it's time to look at an oral medication or some other thing so that all the systems can function and I can still have my life and drink and do the things I need to do.
Great. And then we had a couple of questions also talking about people who don't really sweat or perspire very much, and so they can't really release that heat, and if you have any suggestions for that.
I would everybody's different, and I live in Colorado and I don't feel like I sweat a lot, but I think it's so dry here you never know because it probably evaporates before I know it. But if I go back east where there's more humidity, I seem to be dripping off of me. So we're all sort of different in how we respond. Part of it is, look at the amount of water you're taking. Look at any medications you might be taking. I think it would be good to visit with your doctor or nurse practitioner to say, I don't seem to sweat. I don't seem to be able to get my body cool through this process. Is there anything that I'm taking or something that is impacting this ability? And maybe they can help tease out what could help you or ways you could change. Great.
And the next question just touches upon maybe the women's unique warming system, for example, hot flashes or PMS, and if there's anything particular that you can do for that.
Well, I think I'm not a OBGYN by any means, but it is. I mean, hormones change, and that does cause a heat in your body, and like body temperatures rise and lower throughout the day, regardless of what all of we do. So I think being aware of it, talking with your physician to understand how those hormone changes. Are there any creams or other things that you can use to help mitigate some of the intensity of it, and then looking at like we said, the spritzing and the products that you can use to try to combat when they happen.
Great. There were a couple of questions, and if you just maybe want to recap, Beth, about what are the best ways to cool down if you have to be out in the heat? What sort of tools to use?
I think that we talked about that planning and that preparation, and so the pre-cooling, the cooling shower, if you do have a cooling vest or a cooling product, doing that ahead of time so you're set up for success. Those people that do that can be out longer. And then making sure if you go out, what are the tools that you can take with you that are going to work, that aren't going to be too cumbersome and anything else. And definitely make sure that your head's covered. Keep out of the direct sunlight. Keep the cold fluids on, and dress appropriately for the weather.
Great. And the last question is just talking about intolerance to heat and whether or not that's something that can change over time or gets worse or could get better. There are a couple of questions about that.
I would say that a lot of things in our lives and our bodies change over time, given whether we're living with multiple sclerosis or we have other comorbid conditions or our age or anything else. And so I think that things don't stay constant and they do change, and those are the questions to jot down to take into your physician, because what may work for you today for X, Y, and Z reason may not work tomorrow. And it's definitely keeping a track of what are your triggers, what are you feeling, and working with that local healthcare professional to really tease out and make the changes that you need to be successful.
Great. Thank you both so much. Do you guys have any closing remarks for the participants tonight?
Well, I just wanted to clarify for our MSAA and our cooling program, for those who may not know, MSAA is a national nonprofit organization. So our goal is to help people with MS live a better day-to-day life. We are a nonprofit advocacy group, so all our programs and services are free of charge, and that does include all the cooling products that we provide. So there is the application process that I mentioned. The requirement is that you have to get a doctor's note to specify that you have MS. It doesn't have to say that you have a need for cooling. It's verified for us that we're serving people with MS, and that the products are free, but there is a financial guideline to follow. So we do have a chart listed in the application, and it generally is based on 3 times the federal poverty guideline for the number of people in the household. So you can look on the application and see the chart and see if you are financially eligible to receive the free services. And again, if there's situations, and we certainly understand the challenges with MS, you can give us a call and discuss it, and we try to be as understanding and flexible as possible. So we're not selling these products. We are providing them free of charge for anyone who does not qualify or meet our financial guidelines. There is the information about the 2 vendors that we use. They can contact them and go on their websites, take a look at their products. And for the most part, if you mention that you just don't qualify for the MSAA services, they'll work with you and try to give you a discount as well.
Great, thanks. And Beth, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody for participating this evening. It was a pleasure to do this research and present this information to you guys. And I just, as I said in the last slide, remove those obstacles. You guys can make these changes, and just keep your creative mind in place, because a lot of times the answers lie within yourself.
Great. Thank you, Beth and Peter. That was a fabulous presentation. And thanks to all the participants who joined us tonight for this webinar. So our next webinar is actually on August 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and the topic is 2011 Emerging Therapies with Dr. Randy Shapiro. So you can register for this on our website. And as you can see in the slide, no webinar in July, no problem. Just take this hour of the month to read on your own. Summer articles will be coming your way this July, and you can always find articles on our website. So for those participating live tonight, as soon as the presentation is over, you'll see a survey appear on your computer screen. So please just take a moment to complete the survey and help us continue to improve our webinars. We value your feedback and input. So thanks again, and have a great night.